Calvin T. Mann, leading Emmy, served over 20,000 youth through speaking, coaching, and mentoring. He has inspired us for years. Welcome to Emmy TV Podcast with your host, Calvin T. Mann, the Encourager.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome to Put Your Family First Podcast. I am your host, Calvin T. Mann, with the co-host in the building, the Queen, Heather Rue. How are you?
I am good. This is a great day.
Oh, yeah. The Lions won. Tonight I get to watch my Chiefs go to war with the Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles. And somehow I just feel like the Eagles is just not going to lay down at all tonight. And the Kansas City Chiefs, with the number 2 defense, somehow this could turn into a classic. Of course, I'll be in my Chiefs gear. Of course, my Chief hat. And my Chief t-shirt, my championship gear tonight. Of course, somewhere this evening, Victor is up on the bridge booing me. Right. Since we on the topic of sports, before we get into after the summit, there was Lions won yesterday, which of course, I'm always predicting, and I said they would.
You did.
I said they would come back. It would be a bad day. I kind of like. It's a good thing I don't gamble because I'd probably be broke, wouldn't win as much.
But we take that back. Cancel that. I'm glad you don't gamble.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep it
we're going to keep it winning.
That's right. Keep it winning.
For today, I'm giving away a Win As One Detroit hoodie today.
Oh, nice.
So for anybody that calls in and shares their participation in either one of these summits, will win a Win As One Detroit hoodie.
Nice. Now, that's a great incentive.
Yes, let's see who's out there.
Who's listening.
Yeah, who's listening in. And also, I just wanted to say how dope your summit was Friday.
It was absolutely amazing. I agree. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
The ladies always come through.
Yes.
Yeah, they always come through. So that was awesome. So with that being said, how are you?
Oh, I am really excited about this whole weekend. It was such a actually, it started for me Wednesday, and it's just been flowing ever since. And even today, because I'm excited about the boss session today with Emmy.
Yes.
I'm excited about the fact that our one of our favorite people in the world is going to be there, yes, sharing some financial supports for the families and the moms especially. So that would be Stacey Hunter with Chase Bank, one of our community partners, as Chase Bank is. And because of Stacey Hunter, so many families are being connected to resources that they may not otherwise have had connection to. And because she is, a lot of us are better. Yep. So I greatly appreciate her for sure.
Awesome. And so financial literacy is huge. So the parents have learned some new tools that they didn't learn. What I love the most about this past week, besides all the labor-intensive planning and going in and setting up Thursday night, and then Friday, morning and getting it done. It was just such a fulfilling day. And then leaving there, where at 12 o'clock I was with the boys at the Covenant House, right? So I was with some students during our mentoring at Covenant House. Shout out to Covenant House for having us come in to assist their young men to another level.
Yes, for sure.
Right, and then Saturday, you got to do a vision board.
Before that, our boys had their community service project.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Right.
So we had community service with the boys, and they had to serve the community. So they served seniors, which I love on every level. Mm-hmm. I would love if they would have had a chance to talk with them. Mm-hmm. That would have been amazing. It's just, I think sometimes we forget as adults how important it is to talk to our youth, right?
Well, I mean, some of them did have a chance to talk to some of the elders.
Good. On you guys' side, on the east side, I don't know what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, they were serving, but they got to interact with the adults that were part of the serving, that were bringing in things, and for the elders that were coming through the lines, and the elders that were sitting. So they actually were very engaging and interactive in the process. So, yeah. I mean, you like to see a lot more, but for what they were there to do and for what happened, it was really a great opportunity to see them kind of in a different way, to see them as they are appreciating the people that are around them, both adults and both our elders. So that was pretty good to see.
I had a drill sergeant on the east side with me. She wasn't buying it. She's a former drill sergeant. She shared her story. She let me know she wasn't buying it from the kids. She wasn't buying it from her kids. And she said, she was in the military. And so when she came out of the military, and she had her kids, and now she gets access to her grandson, and she's just not buying it, right? And she's, she said something to the boys, and all the boys in there, that, they started paying attention because she had a different tone. But, and then Sunday.
Well, no. Do you skip Saturday night, which was the vision board party?
The vision board. You interrupted me when I said vision board.
Because I didn't want you to jump ahead, but now I want you to talk about that.
Well, it's nothing I can say. I wasn't invited. It was all y'all.
It sure was. Isn't that something you were not able to say something about that?
Yeah, I was not able. I was not invited.
No, you were not invited.
Yeah,
it was for the board of directors. Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
The funny people didn't let me go.
Right. Well, you had a chance to interact with Rod and Kyrie, so you guys had a chance to connect.
Oh, no. I went to sleep.
So you definitely couldn't have been at the vision board party anyway.
I would have been more interactive, but once I got in that house and got to watching a little football and went to blinking about 1,000 times a second, I let them boys, they know what not to do and what to do. They know not to do nothing, right? So they did a great job. As I went to sleep about 10 something. It was over.
Right.
And then yesterday we had Family Day.
Family Day.
And what we brought to the families was human trafficking information. Mm-hmm. There was a presentation on the human trafficking. It was dope. Mm-hmm. It was nice to see that, watching one of the parents and their kids looking at them going, Mom, you've been teaching us this and telling us this. Mm-hmm. The whole time was very, very inspiring.
Mm-hmm. And the amount of people that didn't have just the basic general information about how it can even get started. How it starts with the media that we use and that we allow our children to use and to see. That piece, I think, was the most startling for most of the parents. At least that's what they shared. That was the really startling information to know that as your kids are playing video games and they're in this online community, that there are predators that are also pretending to be some people who they're not, but also some of the ways that kids get coerced into the human trafficking and how they get coerced into cyberbullying and all the different things, all the different ways that they can be pulled in. And so many of us are not aware that was a difficult thing to hear.
Yeah, and the numbers and the fact that you're in the number 2 area
Yes.
for human trafficking. You're right.
Michigan.
Right? And we think, we are very comfortable in foolishness.
Very comfortable.
Very comfortable in foolishness, but the family day was dope. The
stations,
the different stations, and the parents, the theme, those that play together, stay together, families, and so just as normal, as our family days go, a very dope process, interactive. They had good food, good people. It was good to see Carmen show up.
Yeah, it's always good to see Carmen.
And I gotta tell you, I was very, very proud. At one point I said, this is very good to be right in the middle of your vision. And watching these things unfold, as you know, that it could be done. At some point we would say, oh, no, there's no way you would hear it outside, but we're actually doing it. And I love, the vibe and the environment of some of the parents, right? I love the fact that, based upon our percentage, we have majority of the parents committed. And I love that. I love the fact that they show up, have not missed, and that's a whole nother dynamic. But I love that because we fall into our percentages. We continue with a 98% parental involvement, and we only got a couple parents that just didn't make it. They're not gonna make it due to absence. But with that being said, our boys continue to grow. And I'm excited about tonight and what's going down in 2024.
Right. As we close out our 14-week program, we are in week 14. We're in week 11. We're in week 11 of
Is it
14.
11 or 12? We only got 2 weeks to go.
December 10th. December 10th. So it's about 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. And so excited to have this conversation today about our summit. So we're going to kind of go some bullet points from the Man-to-Man Youth Summit in October and the Women's Wholeness Summit in November. So let's kind of talk about the planning and the differences in the planning for the Man-to-Man Youth Summit versus the Women's Wholeness Summit.
Well, the women were a lot more committed. It's that simple. The input from the women was way more committed than the men, right? Our men figure they show up, that type of thing. We've already started planning for next year, scaling it up, and working on, a notable to be at our Man-to-Man Youth Summit. I was even considering moving it to November because it's Men's Health Month, but of course October is about the mental health, so you gotta kind of roll with it.
Right, you gotta choose.
Right, and then I think the other part is that there are some very dynamic people in the Man-to-Man Youth Summit and the Women's Wholeness Summit. So I got to see the first half of your summit, and before I had to go, and I just love the vibe. You guys had a nice little vibe. With ours, it was slow starting, and we had a number of people that who signed up, and I think we both ran into this to understand that there are tons of people who signed up, but only a certain percentage show up. So we know going forward that to expect a certain percentage of no shows in that process. However,
well, let me back up on that. So I think I don't want to lower my expectations in terms of people who sign up, showing up. What I would like to do over this next year is to help teach people how to show up and why that's important. So I don't think we should step back in terms of, and I know what you're saying about the numbers, just, you play the numbers, right? You put out a certain number, and those that show up, you still, would continue to move over that. I think that in this day and time that we're in, that we have to retool people, and we have to.
You got to explain that. How you gonna retool somebody from signing up and don't show to signing up and do show? How do you retool that person when you're not active? They're not in your process every day.
So one of the ways that we do that is through connecting people to the mediums like our podcast. Connect people to, we write for Detroit Native Sun News. We connect that way. We do lots of community involvement. We show up at community events. We sit on boards. There are other ways that we can start.
That's what we do, though.
It is what we do, but I'm talking about shifting how we connect in our world, in our circles.
Okay.
Because we're continuously multiplying the number of champions for the work that we're doing, which is the restoration of families. So I think that, and this is actually one of our goals as after the summit, is to make sure that we're helping people, intentionally women, more specifically, that part of why people don't show up is that there's a level of fear of engagement. And and I heard it a couple times. So one path of this is the fear of engagement. The second path of it are the obstacles and the challenges that are presented before you when you're trying to change, or when you're trying to connect with information, or you're trying to, make a pivot in your life. Those things come against you. So, and for every facilitator that was a part of the Women's Summit, something came up against them, from cars stopping, from family members getting sick, from personally for me, for your technology misfunctioning, and my presentations. I had 2 PowerPoint presentations that were completely wiped out before the day before I got to the event, and I did not have time to try to restore any of it. And so I had to move it with intention. And so I had to understand that I know that obstacles come, but what we're doing is so important to this cause, this movement, this wave of change, that we have to press through it. We have to learn how to be resilient.
So it's different for men.
Okay, tell me why.
Because it's what you and I talk about with our boys. Everything is being done for our boys. Tie your shoe, put your head on, put your coat on, put your clothes on, put your suit on, put your shirt on, put your socks on, put your belt on, put your homework in your bag, take your homework out your bag, go to class, come home. Everything is being done for. So you have a demographic as well of expectation type men. And it also, men are more, in some cases, we'll say, I might not like that person. Well, I don't really feel like going to the summit, right? It's on the east side. Like that's men and women, but I'm saying that in a lot of cases, foolishness is a distraction for us as men. And that's where we're missing. The sit down as a young boy becomes be quiet as a man. Right? Mm-hmm. Shut up as a young boy become I ain't got much to say as a man. Mm-hmm. We have to get men. When I've been yelling and screaming this for probably since 2008, that men, we needed to unite to change laws. Men will say on Facebook we need to change laws, or men will say on Facebook or someplace else that we can't do that, right? So it's a different mindset. If you bring in a notable, right, Now you can move the men a little bit, right? Even we was just talking about. It was just Saturday. So Saturday morning, I went to Manna with Pastor Kinlock. So I've been talking to Pastor Kinlock. Reaching out the whole nine. We didn't bumped into each other so much. It's like, we pointing at each other, right? And so Saturday, there was a conversation. And he alluded to, fatherhood and the men, right? Of course, it's something that he has planned, and hopefully, we can collaborate in that plan. But the real process again is, how do you get them there? So the summit was such a powerful thing, right? So I don't want to take away from that, because the men that showed, I'm rolling with, right?
Yes, for sure.
Right? The facilitators, the Furies, and Dr. Jordan Bretts, and Chris Rutherfords, and Jermaine Wirewicks, and you know what I mean?
Yes,
and
for sure.
and the different speakers, that we had, right? Terrence, and we got a nice piece like you all, right? And so those men, what we have to do is, with those men, begin to we're gonna take a different approach and highlight and market them in a different way for the Man to Man Youth Summit for next year. I think that's important.
So let me say this, that the men that you named are men in your circle and your sphere of influence in the work of elevating other boys, men, husbands, and fathers. So they're in this work. And just like the Man to Man Youth Summit and your facilitators and speakers, it was the same thing for the Women's Wholeness Summit.
Right.
So the women that were there were in my sphere of influence, and have been committed to doing this work of healing and wholeness in the spaces of women, mothers, women and mothers. And so it was really significant to make sure that we are connecting to people first that are already in the lane that we're in.
Yeah.
That's huge. But I did have people who I did approach who weren't able to be a part of it, just like within your event, the Man to Man Youth Summit. And so, but it doesn't mean that they're not a part of this movement. And what it means is that the timing for them, for the venue, it didn't align. But alignment is huge in this process. And I think the more that we recognize, so just like your purpose-driven work and my purpose-driven work is aligned. And because you deal with men, which is this part of parenting and family, I deal with women, and this is part of parenting and family, we align together. I believe that's why we work so well together. And the people who we bring together for the work, it's going to intersect at that family. And so as people start to understand the importance of our individual and collective roles, we will see the change. But again, I believe part of that is helping people to understand. So teaching people that when crises arise, part of that crisis is to deter you from moving forward with the change, is to test you to see if you're resilient enough to press through it. And that's the piece I think we're going to be teaching both the men, boys, and the women and girls. We have to teach people to be resilient, to find that space that this is important. It's so important that I will overcome this obstacle. The event was so important for those people who had that fight come against them. So we're changing as was spoken in our summit, there's a paradigm shifting here. There's a paradigm shift. And that means a complete reset of a mind and a decision-making skill.
That most definitely is the work.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
sure.
The work.
But what part of it is the revelation that comes to those people who are on the border, who know that this is going to be helpful, know that it's going to be good, but you have to fight to get to the good part. That's like trying to get the meat out of a walnut. It's not easy to crack a walnut. It's a special tool design. You need a nut cracker to crack a walnut. I mean, you can use pressure.
Yeah, but
you still it is effort. Is my point. We have to help people to understand that when you are going through this process of change, that it is effort. So that means the challenge will come to see if you're serious about taking this next step.
So yeah, I agree. This is where you and I have a different mindset. So I believe that when you take the same process and you put it in another area, if the Women's Wholeness Summit is in Atlanta, right, I believe that's when people, right, really unravel their support, right? Because to them now, it's just like, what did my man say? Jesus didn't have his own backyard, right? It wasn't until he went abroad and came back. Mm-hmm. So, but at the same time, I think sometimes we can be somewhat, we're very optimistic in change for people. The question is how do you get the optimism into the people to change, right? Because you have you have a high level of consumerism where it's you're not Oprah. Who you think you are? You're not Taraji. Who you think you are, right? So, as a matter of fact, it just hit me, and we're gonna talk about that when we get off air. But the process again, I think is to move, continue to move, but plow through. And I mean, we have a tendency to pause and try to hold every hand. And I don't think that we can pause and hold every hand. I think you have to continue to plow through to the level for which you get to that brings everybody's attention to who you and what you are and how far you can go. That's just me.
So I guess kind of where we differ in the approach is, I believe in one, that it has to be seeded in you. The change has to be seeded in you. However it is planted, and then as you go take this journey, you take this next step, is continuing to be nurtured and watered and encouraged. And as that seed starts to bloom, you can only be where you are. And fear is a monster. Fear is a monster. It is, and we have so many fears and phobias and anxiety around change because we don't have any control over what you feel as you're going through this process. And so,
is it anxiety or is it
sometimes uncomfortable? It's uncomfortable.
Or is it envy or jealousy? Or
it can be all of those things. Whatever that seed is.
I remember somebody telling me, man, Carol, I can't mess with you, right? Because these are my people. Like, wow. I was like, okay, that's what's up. So do your thing. You know what I mean? I ain't mad at you.
Right. As long as our goal is the same, whatever lane you're driving in, your driving purpose is, your driving force is, as long as we're driving people toward healthy, strong relationships and family, I think we can't miss, we can't lose. So even if you don't decide to follow my lead, or you don't decide to follow this path that we're laying out for the restoration of family, maybe your path is restoring families through housing. Maybe your path is restoring families through substance abuse prevention. Maybe your path is restoring families through workforce development. Whatever that is, we are going to our paths are going to converge at some point.
Oh, it's going to cross.
And so the idea that it crosses and aligns, because divisiveness is also a monster. It is a big, green, ugly monster. Divisiveness, when we're divided. And as long as we keep a focus on, it doesn't have to be my way, but let's go in the same direction. Let's go in the direction of restoring our families, because we can't help our children if we're not restoring our families. Because that family then becomes our village, and that village is really where we're going to get the real support, the new mindset of the village. We have to shift what that looks like. And I keep going back to when Sylvia Hubbard Hutala was on our show, and she talked about the idea of how men and women can even work together to raise kids. Yeah. And not have to be in intimate relationships. You just have to care. Right. You have to care enough to see the need and then have the ability to meet it and step up. That's what our new village mindset has to be. You don't have to sleep with me to help me. I don't have to sleep with you to help you. How do we do this better? And so that's what I'm excited about, seeing how we can move people together like that.
Without all that foolishness.
Right. The foolishness, the drama, the trauma.
Well, like I said, we're doing it, right? And
yeah, we do it every day.
We do it, but I mean, like, we're doing it in our mentoring program. We do it in our relationships. We do it in the boards we sit on. We do it in the work that's been one of my...
This is an extension of what we already do.
Yeah, that's been one of my strong points, right? In our work, and over the years, in 38 years, right? That's been one thing. I've not touched none of these kids' mothers. Mm-hmm. And for me, you're talking, it's the reason why I say I can give you integrity and I can give you some loyalty, because you don't have to worry about me, processing that emotion or that feeling with someone because I am helping the kid. I think that's the part for me in the culture. That's doing it for the culture, not for oneself, right? That's doing it for the culture.
But you talk about this so often, about the good feeling that good deeds, stir in you. And sometimes the good deed and that good feeling doesn't mean that you have to go in this direction, that you have to take it there. But again, this is how we have to teach one another to grow.
Oh, that's tough.
We have to teach, but the first way that we teach is by example. And so you just said that I set the tone as an example that it can be done.
Oh, right? Yeah. You know my motto. You can't be around me with that.
And so,
that's
and for me and my journey, it is I can help you and not expect to benefit financially from your help, or from my helping you or you helping me. There are some things that there are some boundaries that we have to set.
You have to.
But we also have to continue to move and press forward, because what we're doing is so essential. But when you're in leadership, you are the example. You are the example. And so many people build their faith in that example. And that's where a lot of our political leaders let people down. A lot of our church leadership will let people down. And the other part of it is, yes, you're human, but you have to remember, and I always say this to people who are working with us, you're a public figure now. So the things that you used to do that, didn't really matter, there are people watching you. There are people who need to see the example. And if not just for you and your family, we have to do it because there's a generation coming up behind us. And they're taking it all in, and they're not trying to interpret whether this is what you meant. They go by what you did or what you said, what they heard. And so we have to make sure that our words are aligning with our thoughts and our actions. We have to line that up.
Words, deeds, and action.
Absolutely.
That's the second time it's been mentioned today. Right? And you have to. And I think that's the part about going forward with the summits, right? Mm-hmm. It's us keeping our words. It's us doing our deeds. and it's our action. It's not a conversation. You're not here to fall into those things. We're here to move people to results.
Yes, for sure.
For their families, right? Because we see that the system is taking our boys and girls. When you make up 12% of the country and you're number one in incarceration rate, both the man and the girl, there is something that we have done wrong that we have to correct right now.
And we can't go back through doors that have been closed.
Yeah.
It's funny because I started talking about, that Bible story that talks about Lot's wife when they were asked or told to leave the city and not to look back. And she turned around and looked. I said, that's a salty woman. Because, she turned into a pillar of salt, right? So when you start looking at salty women who are negative, women who are that may lack that positive connection, I say that's a salty woman. And
or
I
believe in the person that was leading.
Or believe in that person that was leading, for sure. That's another great point. But looking back into the doors that were already closed behind you makes you a salty person.
Yeah, because that was Lot's wife, wasn't it?
It does something to you.
It was Lot's wife, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that's, I use that just for that example. That's a whole nother stuff. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. I'm talking about the salty woman. How about that? I'm talking about the salty woman. Just that part of the story.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But I'm saying it causes bitterness. Yeah. It causes bitterness when you start looking back at, and you start trying to relive the past as opposed to the change and the progress and the purpose that's in front of you.
You need failure.
That's what I'm talking about, the things that we need to help people to learn how to do that better.
Yeah.
And we can teach that. That's something that can be taught. The first way that it's taught is by example. The second one is by application. And so when we talk about the process of change, I'm going to give you 5 steps right now.
Run the 5, baby.
The first one is that you need new information.
New information. It's always important.
New information, because what we do is we rely on what used to work or what worked for mom and what worked for grandma. Some things are new. You need new information.
New information.
And so that's the first step. New information. The second one is you have to actually appreciate what you learned. You got to appreciate the information that you were given, and you need to appreciate the source. So the source might have been somebody's test, and their testimony brought that to you as an example of how to appreciate what a person has gone through.
Okay.
So information, appreciation. The next one is application.
You must be able to apply.
You have to apply the new information. If you appreciate what you heard, or you appreciate somebody's journey, or appreciate somebody's testimony, you appreciate these new tools, then apply it. Apply it. That means apply it to your life. That means do it. It may not come out the same way. You may not apply it the same way, but apply it. That means you have to take action.
Yes.
Application means action. And so the fourth step in this process is that you are going to transform. That means some things about what you say and what you do and how you think is going to change. Okay. It's going to transform you.
That's 4. That's okay.
And then the last thing you need to do is elevate. You have to move from where you have been. You have to move from where you have been. So that means you're taking another step forward. You're going to elevate. You're going to rise. You're going to not be in the same space that you were before. So that means when you change spaces, there are other things that change in your life because your frequency is different. Certain things can't be in your space anymore. That's why people fall away.
So I'd like to add the 6th one, and I think it's important to respect the 5 that you had, but I had to throw one in there, and this one may be the biggest contributor to that. You have to take your foot out of other doors and plant them and move them together. If you got your feet in 4 or 5 other doors, right? You leave a door open for the devil, demonic spirits, negative energy to always be applied to your single process. People will judge you for multiple things, but they'll have themselves in 6 or 7 different doors. Foolishness, side piece-ness, alcoholism. They'll have themselves in all of these doors, won't close a one, and still say God ain't came through for them. But God asks you to put, to apply. If you take one step, He'll take 2. Close them 5 doors, right? If I got to add one more, and this is the last one, this is our secret sauce, because we practice this all the time. Pray and fast. Stop playing with yourself. Pray and fast. Put that prayer and fast on your vision. Why that is such an important piece to go along with closing doors. You can't ask God for something and you spread so thin in them other doors that you can't even see what God has for you through the one main door. So you got to be able to close those doors and walk forward, as well as put praying and fasting into your regimen. It's just those things are just too important to ignore. You can't ignore those things.
For sure. I agree.
And that's awesome, right? That's
right. And so especially when you want to see change in spaces.
We need to charge for that.
Change in spaces where you feel like it's impossible for those things to change.
Yeah.
And like it's impossible for me to forgive this person for doing this to me, or it's impossible for so and so to change their mind and to get on board. It's it's worked over and over in our lives and those who we pray and fast for. But I think that's another piece of it, Calvin, that you don't need to just pray and fast for you. Pray and fast for your children. Pray and fast for the laws to change. Pray and fast for the things that you feel like you have no control over. Because we're talking about a supernatural intervention when we talk about prayer and fasting.
I had this conversation earlier with Dominique, right? And so Dominique, she was sharing about insurance or whatever, right? And she was like, Dad, I don't like this adulting. And I said, baby, you winning. I said, there are millions of mothers in the same boat you in, and you handling your business. You are taking care of everything, and you going to school. You're organized, like you got a way, a direction, you know what you want to do. I was like, there are so many other people who not paying their bills on time, right? Who you not over there getting blowed, turning up. Think about all the trips you've taken yourself on. Think about where you was when you pulled up and you decided that you didn't want to live that way. Think about that. You're winning, and you have to be appreciative of what God has put in your life, but you also prayed for. And I think a lot of times we don't understand or have our receptive mindsets open, knowing that the parents in our lives are praying for us. It's just an amazing thing, and that's the one thing I can say about my family, about your family. One thing about my family, they gonna pray. You know what I mean? We come from the fasting, but the one thing for sure, they gonna pray. They most definitely gonna pray, and they gonna take action.
Right?
They gonna take action because when I look at my brothers and sisters, of course I am not the only one in business, and I don't understand how people could even come to that process, but I'm not the only one in business in my family. My brothers and sisters, they do it. And so, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I just gave you the juice.
So I just want to reiterate why we use the summit, why we use the term summit, and really what that means, and put this in perspective as you talk about the Man and Man Youth Summit. We talk about the Women's Wholeness Summit. The summit is the highest point is typically the highest point of a mountain, but we're going to look at it differently. We're going to look at it as the highest point in your life, where you can see all the things around you. You can see the land below at a distance. You can see as far as your eyes can take you. And when you have that perspective of what it looks like from the height of your life, you can see things a little bit differently. And that perspective offers you an opportunity to look at your shortcomings, to look at where your potential is, to look at where you've been and where you don't want to go back to. So it's the high point where you can see your territory, where you can see your surroundings, where you can see your community, where you can see your family, where you can see yourself from this higher point. So when you come down from there, you have a plan.
Moses.
You have a plan. Because you see what you want and you see what you don't want. That's the birthplace of a plan. Now, what do you do to get what you want and to decrease what you don't want? That summit allows you to see it more clearly from a higher standpoint, or a higher vantage point. But now you can come back to do the work that's required to get you there, or to keep you there, or to take you there. That summit, the idea of the summit, is such a powerful tool. It's such a powerful tool. And if we apply it, we apply the principles that go along with it. There are some amazing principles that go along with meeting and being at the summit, because you can continue to rise higher every time you visit a summit.
Tell the people where they can get you.
You can find me at my website at yourinspiredjourney.com. You can reach me by phone at 313-759-7855. Again, that's 313-759-7855. And please reach out to me in these mediums and not on social media. Thank you.
Good luck with that one.
I know people don't hear me when I say that. They don't hear me when I say, but if you really want to have a conversation and connect, catch me there.
Oh, right. You got to go to yourinspiredjourney.com and set that and reach out there. That's where they got to get you at. So you can reach me at calvintman.com, emmyworld.com, goodfathersonly.com. Really love what the take about the summit was very, very powerful. And for us to understand the higher heights that you have to go when you go to a summit, right? When you're climbing up to get to the summit, there's obstacles, there's a journey, it's a rock. You might be hanging off of one cliff, right? And the point to climbing the summit and getting to the top, it takes you to be mentally in a different mindset and being in shape, and right. And I think one of the things that I am going to do for me is I'm going to get myself in a position to climb that summit. Right. I think it's important that we understand the work that it is required to achieve. I'll be the first to admit I'm not the smartest cookie in the bag, but I'm in the bag. You know what I mean? So that's the difference, right? I'm not the smartest, and I say things, or I ask challenging questions, and I'm always philosophizing in terms of trying to get an understanding as to why do we do things. My daughter said, common sense isn't common no more. My son said, Dad, common sense isn't common no more, right? Everybody, the younger kids are saying that. And I'm saying you still got to go through to get to that peak. So no matter how you look at it, you got work. And the more we understand that there's no magical pill, there's no shortcut.
No shortcuts.
No shortcuts at all. Like, if you're looking for a shortcut, you literally wasting your time. Even if somebody say, oh yeah, you got the hookup, you're not going to hang on that long. You got to go through, because it is a process of growth.
Yes, for sure.
And the one thing that I say again on our behalf, man, somebody said the other day, I forget where we was at, and they were talking about growth, and they were asking, right, and in what way have you seen your success? And everybody was going, oh yeah, everybody got their hand up. Ooh, I made this much money, I made that much money, I made this much money, and I said, well, I was looking and I was going, success. Every time I see somebody that's success, they say money is a part of the process, but not to get away from the fact that if I could convert the results into money, right? The numbers, 15,000 and some odd boys. All my boys are husbands and fathers since I was 20. The contribution of that, right? The success. So no wonder they would give Calvin T. Manday. You know, I didn't know I was even getting that. I was asked, have you ever received an award? And I was like, no. And I hadn't until 2016. Nobody even paid me no attention, right? Until 2016. But,
well, it's not that they didn't pay you attention. It just wasn't rewarded.
Right. Well, okay.
In a tangible way.
In a tangible way. Okay. I'll roll with you on that one, right? But I was just saying that I kept my hands to the plow because I understood what was at stake. And I think when you climb to the top of a summit, you must understand that the climb and what is at stake to get there. With that being said, my name is Calvin T. Mann. I am the president and founder of Encourage Me Up Young. You have been watching the award-winning Put Your Family First TV, METV on Put Your Family First podcast. And with that being said, 2024, baby, it's going to be epic. Peace. Every athlete, every person, every human being has an opportunity. Some opportunities don't come when you want them. But if you're prepared, good opportunities can happen. Always be ready, because you never know when your number is going to get called. I'm not coming back. EMIY Apparel. Encourage me. I'm young.